Hey, what's going on Facebook? How's everybody doing? It's your man Leif Taylor once again with Two Shy Guys. I know it's been a while. Waiting on my dude J Cam to get in here. See if we can get it rolling. I know it seems like it's been forever for me before I've been on a live. Um, so let's see how this rolls. See if we can get J Cam in here. What's up, Kev? What's up, Tamiko? How you doing? What's up, J Kev? J
What's
Kev
up,
with
man? How you doing, man?
J Kev with the half body as always. You got the half face, like he's in a
Yeah,
Batman novel. What's going on?
I am in a Batman novel, man. I am the talking head of the century. That's what I'm aiming for. I'm trying to just be a talking head. Nothing.
Yeah, this is Kev all the time. Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Doing all right today?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Doing well. Doing well. How about
Cool
yourself, man?
beans. I'm doing pretty good. Two shy guys. I'm a little mellow right now. The word wall is approaching, so we're gonna make sure that we have a nice conversation before we hit that wall. My seatbelt's on, and I think we're strapped in. So if we do hit the wall, we're all going to be okay.
So, what's up? So yeah, man.
Two,
What
two,
you want to talk about,
two
bro?
shot guys in the mic here, leveling up. Just want to talk about, well, just kind of catch up and see how everybody's doing. And I
Yeah.
guess the main theme of the show, one of the reasons why you tuned in today is just to be inspired and motivated, encouraged to aspire to keep focus and keep things maintained and well oiled. Keep that machine well oiled, whatever you got going on over there, and don't be afraid to branch out while you oil up your machine and get it prepared for its next running. I'm thinking about we're in the season's end and we're coming upon a new season, a new year. So just maintain where you're at, and then also don't be afraid to kind of branch out and explore other opportunities and other things that may be advantageous to you. So maintain what you got, and don't be afraid to explore and see what else may be out there as far as transitioning and moving along and doing some things that you want to do.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So just look thinking about the pillars that we always talk about: health, wealth, relationships, and happiness. And just thinking about like those four pillars. What are I'll approach you with it first, and then I'll ask the community out there. What are how what are four things that you or one thing you're doing in each of the four pillars that you hold to a high priority, hold to a high degree, that is a must do in order for you to maintain and then also do better tomorrow than you did yesterday. For example, in the health category, somebody asked me earlier, they DM'd me. And I was like, man, you still lifting? I guess because I guess they're just checking in on me. I don't know. But I was like, yeah, I'm still lifting. I posted a pic saying, yeah, still in the gym at least once a week. That's my goal, and I'm sticking to it. I've had that goal for the last five, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and it's a must do for me that at least once a week,
Okay.
hit or miss, that I get in the gym and I push some mid, some heavy weight around. So push some heavy weight around for about once a week. Given that what I do on a daily basis, I'm automatically pushing heavy weight around, trudging through.
So that's yeah, that's a no brainer for you.
It's a no-brainer. I mean, every day I'm lifting heavy stuff, and I'm moving a lot, and I'm eating less. So the things that keep a person in shape, I'm doing it uh, because I have a love-hate relationship with doing tough stuff sometimes. I hate it. Like my man Tony Horton on P90X would say is, uh, you love it, but you hate it, or you hate it, but you love it. You know, you have that love-hate relationship with putting that much needed stress on your body
Yep. Yeah, you
so that
gotta put.
it stays, yes, so that it stays doing what it was designed to do. Your body's designed to move, lift, be agile, stretch. It's designed for those things. So that's number one. In my wealth category, in my wallet category, I've been I took on some extra things as far as income, and that really helped out where I was. So
What's up?
I did some extra things, and I just got a nice little, a decent bump with some extra effort, which got me over a hurdle. So, and then I'm also exploring other opportunities too, as far as like maintaining, staying over the hurdle. I don't know if I should spill the beans now, but I just recently learned about this new tactic that is so simple that people are doing. It's like it makes you want to slap somebody. It's how simple this stuff is, but we just overcomplicate stuff. I want to say it, but after thinking about some of the past shows that I done said stuff and seeing how somebody somewhere is taking,
Just tell me behind it.
you know
I'll
what I'm
let you
talking
know
about.
if you should share it.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Seeing how somebody behind the scenes may have been really like following the instructions. So but just doing whatever you can as far as maybe bumping and increasing the flow to your wallet, multiple streams of income. That's one of the
Yes.
things we
Yes.
often stress is always making sure that you have at least two or more streams of income developed and flowing in your direction. So that was another thing as far as me focusing and having high priority to. Number three, relationships. Just making sure that I stay in community with like-minded believers. It's not in my nature to do so, to be in groups of people. So
Yeah. I definitely.
I have to force myself to do it. But when I do it, I'm never uh, I'm never disappointed when I do it, and it's always great when you're in the presence of other people that are loving, love you, hug on you, love on you, and do those things. So that's very fulfilling to the soul. And then the last one is contentment and happiness, or spirituality. I lump those all together. So I attended church service, which for me is very beneficial when it comes to my spiritual development, personal development,
Yep. Yep.
and my experience and walk in this life. And it helps keep it helps keep me focused on what's to be a high priority in my life is respect to my purpose and what it is that the office the thing that I was designed to do, regardless of how you feel or how you think, we all have a reason for being born in this particular place or time, and it's to your true contentment and happiness to make sure that you find yourself doing it. Find out what it is, and then get to doing it, regardless of whether you feel uh, worthy or whether you feel like you're capable or able. Just find out what your purpose is, your natural inclinations are, and just get to doing it the best that you can, and not letting things hold you back, not letting fear hold you back.
Yep. Definitely
So
agree.
that's where I'll plant the flag right now.
Okay. So one of the things, let's see, I'll go through my four uh,
Hmm.
things that I must do in terms of health. Uh, One of the things I've really been thinking about, especially after moving and realizing how out of shape I am in certain areas, is
Yeah.
I'm gonna what I do and then what I'm gonna start doing. I'll do that. So what I
Okay.
do currently,
Yep.
obviously, if you've watched the show, you know I don't eat meat. I still maintain a diet. I actually don't. Uh, Man, probably for the past several months, man, my caloric intake has been really low. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying like I'm starving, but I just don't eat as often. I just don't, like, for example,
Yes.
right now. I haven't even eaten yet, so
And you're
so
good. Yeah,
yeah.
and
So
that's one of the
I'm
that's one
trying.
of the benefits.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Are you not hungry or anything?
No, it's just like, well, right now I'm getting hungry, so we're
Yeah.
about to eat. But for the most part, when I'm busy, I find myself, especially when I'm uh, digging in the creative, I don't focus on eating as much. I used to do it a lot when I was a kid as well. When I used to draw all the time, I would just spend
Yeah.
hours doing my craft and not even think about eating. What's up, Tyree? So my caloric intake has definitely dropped considerably, and so
Hey everybody.
yeah, so that's one
Tyree.
thing that I've been doing as of late. It's involuntary intermittent fasting, where it's like I don't do it on purpose, but I do it every day. If that makes any
Well,
sense.
that's one of the side effects. That's one of the benefits of when you know that for yourself that you've gotten things honed in pretty good, is that you begin to naturally do things like the intermittent fasting, or you naturally reduce your caloric intake. All this stuff just naturally happens. You don't have to write out a plan. You don't have to follow a diet. You don't have to do anything out of the ordinary. It's just that when you get in tune with what your body is telling you, and you start, following and listening
Yeah.
and just doing it, then it's just
What's up,
something
Jeremy?
that's naturally happens. So some of us, I'll never come against any particular trend or diet or whatever somebody's stance on whatever they take with their.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thought you froze for a second.
I
Oh,
did.
I think you may have froze.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
We're
Pause for
good
a second.
now. Oh
I
man,
sat
you
up there and flipped the
switched.
camera. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
So, and also another thing that I do is make sure that I drink water continuously. Right now, I'm drinking this nasty LaCroix water. Somebody gave it to me earlier, but it's still water. Uh, so
It's
I
still
doubt
water.
we get an endorsement from them based off of what I just said. So that
Oh
so
man, you messing up. You messing up my money. You messing up my wallet, man.
so that's one thing that I do for health in terms of just make sure I drink water. And I have to be mindful. What's going on, Miss Kim? How are you doing? What's up, Miss Celeste? Uh,
Hey, Latier, Jeremy,
One of the things that I
Stacy,
have to make sure that I do though is
Kim,
make sure that I drink enough
Miss
of
Cheryl.
the water, right? Because I know some days,
Mm-hmm.
one of the downsides of me not eating or thinking about that is that I don't drink as much water either. I just don't take anything in my body. So I have to make sure that I focus on getting a certain amount of water. That's why I typically
Yeah.
usually see me on here with some form of container because that helps me measure
Yep.
my volumes. So I know it's like, okay, if I have the slim container, then it's like, okay, at least need to drink two or three of those. Or if I have, she said it is nasty. Or if I have the big bottle,
Latier trying to make sure we don't get no endorsements so she can mess up my pockets.
hey, yeah, I mean, yeah, I just grabbed it to see if my taste buds had changed. But infuse your water with fruit. No, this is what's nasty. This is infused, and I don't like it. It's the carbonated water. But anyway, sometimes it's
But I mean, that is a good tip though, to infuse your water with fruit. Though.
yeah, yeah, that helps sometimes. Sometimes
Hey, Takia.
it just depends. So that's one thing I do in terms of health. In terms of I don't even remember the
Hey,
four
Kimba.
pillars off the top, but in terms of financial,
Health, wealth, relationships,
yeah,
and happiness.
happiness I have to create. That's happiness for me. One of the things, the downsides for the move that we did is I didn't have the ability to create as often as I wanted, and
Yep.
I hated every bit of not being in
Tell
front
Lamar.
of a computer or a sketch pad or something like that to where I could sit down and create. And typically, what happens that's is and what's funny about it is that's how my sleep schedule gets off because, like for example, last night I didn't go to bed till like 6 in the morning. Well, actually, this
Oh.
morning, right? Because this was like one of the first times I actually had to sit down in front of my computer, in front of my sketch pad, and so I was literally up either researching or doodling on some stuff, and before I know it, the time is up. Yeah, seriously, and my time is
We
gone.
way opposite, man. We oil and water.
Uh, yeah, so it's just like one of what's up, Taylor? What's up, Lamar? So yeah, it's just one of those kinds of things, like and it's hard for me to shut off. So I got to get better. Going back to the health side of it with my sleep. You talk about
He
Lamar.
said,
Lamar's default for everything is chicken. It's those dudes that keep an alkaline environment, take sleep. I know. Kevin needs more entertainment in his life.
he said, infuse your water with chicken.
See, I'm used to it. But I'm thinking for everything, so I'm used to it. And Kevin's still thinking about it. Kim, the problem for me is not that I can't sleep, is that I just don't sleep. Like when it comes to being creative, it's not that I can't sleep. Like if I go lay in the bed, I can go to sleep just fine. It's just getting me to the bed is the problem. So she said I'm hollering. I know Kevin makes everything funny. And then so that's the issue for me. But let's see, in terms of finances, that's another reason why I delve into the creative. Is like you mentioned multiple streams of income, and for me it's just researching, and then also finding the right time to stop the research and start the implementation. So you got to balance, right?
I just had a conversation with somebody about that yesterday. We were talking and just talking about researching and how sometimes you can get to a point to where you research so much that you forget about half the stuff you done taken in.
Yeah, or even the reason why you did it in the first place, right?
And I just made a comment. I said, stop consuming and start creating.
Yeah, you start producing. And so you gotta make, and then that's another reason why I hate being away from my computer, because for me, my computer is how I generate revenue personally, right? So it's I'm kind of bonded to it in the standpoint of not only just in terms of loving being creative, but if I'm not on the computer long enough, then I'm probably not doing something or creating something that can make me money, right? And also going back to multiple streams of income, I've been doing some sales lately. I know I've talked to you in the background about it, and that's actually been helping out in terms of just extra boost. Right now, for most people, actually, I was talking to somebody today, several other business owners earlier today, and this is for the most part. I don't know anybody that does December sales outside of retail. Like December sales in terms of like making money, like getting new contracts and things in December. I don't know anybody that gets contracts in December outside of retail.
Yeah.
Because it's
that's
like,
what's shut down.
Usually, like January 3rd, business tends to pick up for a lot of people that I know. It seems to have been my trend over the years, and so December is one of those months where it's like, okay, either you have something to sell, like a product, or you're just planning for the next quarter. So that's one of the things that I've noticed this time of year, and it seems to be the same regardless of industry. Outside of retail, but they're not making anything new. They're selling like seasonal inventory. So so that's that. See, Kim said she just wrote about multiple incomes on her page, multiple streams of income.
Multiple streams of income.
Yeah,
and that's very important these days. Just given where things may be headed as far as the economy. There's always fear being pushed on us over the horizons as far as the economy, given that we live in perpetual bubbles, right?
Right.
So we always want to make sure that we live in a state of prosperity and preparedness versus poverty and just a state in which you're just kind of just living from check to check. So the principle, the strategy of employing multiple streams of income is definitely something that I had no clue about until my latter years. And then once I learned that, it makes life a little more easier and it makes things a little more freeing. And then once you
Yeah.
learn about that, you can't go back. Nobody anywhere can hold you captive. As far as, hey, I'm gonna mess with your money. It's like, okay, I gotta, I got a few ladders to jump to if that's how we want to do it. So it's definitely to make sure that
Yeah.
we're adamant about making sure that we keep at least a couple of channels open.
Yeah, it's like Kimber said, you worry less. Yeah, and that's the thing.
You
It's
do worry
really
less.
just, just setting up. It's almost like a storehouse, right? You have
Yes,
you have other avenues. It's really the basic principles of investment. You know what I mean?
it
Like,
is.
you got to
Yeah,
diversify, and you want to make sure that you have a diversified stream of revenue, because, like I said, December time for times of like December or any other scenario where there's going to be a drought or there's going to be dry seasons, you want to have, something planted where there's not going to be a dry season, and that. So you want to offset the dry seasons in a sense. So you want to switch up your
to
income.
have margin.
Exactly. Uh, Takia asked the question. She said, "Did I feel like I got a decompression break or a break from being away from the computer?" Uh, it allowed me to see some other things because I wasn't. I was away from my computer. I wasn't away from my phone. Because one of the things that I realized, because I'll give you some insight. I had to get. We still have a lot of stuff to get rid of, right? We have a lot of like items, things that we need to get rid of in terms of like the house. We moved from one house to a house that we already owned that already had a lot of stuff in it that we had to get rid of. And so one of the things I was doing while we were in the process of moving, I was actually selling stuff instead of throwing it away. So I was selling a lot of different items in the same time that I was trying to get it out of my house. And that helped. Literally doing that, selling those items instead of throwing them to the curb, actually paid for all the moving. It paid for, the
Wow.
trucks and all of those different things. And so I was, spending a lot of my time, making deals, making sure that I was managing the deals and all of that kind of thing, which actually took up a lot of my mind space. And so that part, it wasn't frustrating because, again, I like doing things like that. I like, managing and shuffling things around, because for me the reason I like being creative is because I can switch from one thing to another. And if I get
Many
bored with
screens.
yeah, if I get bored with one thing, I just move to something else that's good in sometimes and it's bad at other times, right? So it's just being able to manage that. But it just helped me facilitate. One, it was extra stream of income, so I didn't have to worry as much about not being in front of my computer and figuring out the things that I wanted to do. So it actually freed me up to do to take the break from the computer, even though I didn't necessarily like it. Also, being away from the computer, again, it always gives me a time to breathe. Typically, especially like when Lamar and I, when we were working on projects, we always get the project beards. And whenever you see us on camera and we look rough, it means that we're working on some stuff. And when you see us clean, it means that, okay, we have a break to where we can go do either, network, keeping up the network, going back to the relationship side of it. You have to take time out to make sure that you groom the relationships that you've established, make sure that your nodes are active within your network. So it's usually during those times that I get a break from the computer when I'm going out and talking to people that I know, just seeing what the buzz is in the particular city that I live in, or what's going on in any particular industry, or with different friends. It's like, okay, what are you working on? Because that's always a good time to see if there's other interests that you can, become a part of something, or just see what other people are doing. Sometimes that's a motivator in and of itself to keep you going. So that helps me get a break from the computer as well. But usually that's more scheduled in between the times of heads down, tapping away at the keys.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I got time to breathe. Let me go out and see people, right? Let me get out of my cave and go meet people and, cultivate relationships. So that's
Yeah.
one thing, one aspect of it. And since I'm talking about relationships, one of the things that I do for relationships, again, for me, being like working from home, having my children at home is not. I always tell people this because I was talking with some entrepreneurs about it earlier. It's not always the easiest thing to do. Especially, you got to make sure that you plan and make sure that you always thinking about, bringing in more revenue to maintain the life, maintain your freedom. Your freedom comes
Yeah. That's man. I
with
thought. Yeah, I
consequences,
was thinking about that too. Yeah.
right? So your freedom, work is attached to your freedom. So if you want to, every time when I hear people talk about freedom, they're like, yeah, I don't want to do nothing. Yeah, you're not going to be free, right? You either do some work to get the windfall, or you work to stay free of all the accoutrement of, of the things that ensnare you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so for me, work, is part of my freedom aspect. I know Farouk, brother Farouk Hunter talks about it a lot. He said, some people aren't ready for freedom because they don't have a good work ethic, and
Man.
so you have to definitely
Yeah.
work at it. You definitely have to be on your P's and Q's in terms of it, and you have to be willing to put in the work. Like somebody mentioned in one of the posts I had earlier this week or last week, is you have to embrace the suck, right? Because sometimes the things that
Yes.
you have to do are things that you don't want to do, and even like Kevin was talking about, like his love hate relationship with hard work, sometimes you don't want to do it, but if you just embrace the aspect that regardless if I want to do this or not, I have to do it. So let me just bathe in it, right? Let me just, absorb it all. And it's like, okay, this is going to be hard physical labor. This is going to be long hours. This is not going to be comfortable. So let me just embrace this and move forward, right? And that's kind of how I
I
feel.
don't know why. I hate it, but I love it.
Yeah, and that's the same thing
I
for
don't
me, right?
know. Yeah.
Even with us transitioning from the house and while we're doing it and reducing the stuff that we have, the process doesn't feel great, but I know the process is necessary, so I just embrace it.
Yes.
It's like, you know what?
Yes.
This ain't what I want it to be. It was a whole lot easier just being at the other crib. I keep thinking about going back, but it's like since I'm already on this journey, let's continue the journey and see what the end results will
See what
be.
happens.
Yeah, and so you just embrace it and move forward. So that's one of the things, and that helps keep your mind clear as well. Because once you get in
Man.
the mindset that, like, you know what, I got this. Like, say that you have an injury. It's like, okay, my leg is broke. There's no sense in me complaining about my leg being broke. Let me just embrace the pain of this broken leg so I can do what is necessary to get it healed, right? And so it's the same kind of mindset. And one, it just changes your whole perspective. It changes your work ethic around it. It changes your
It,
your effort. It
it gives
just,
you the ability to stay in
yeah,
flow.
it helps you endure. It just helps you endure
And,
and
and I was thinking,
thrive.
and I was thinking of the post that I just posted about the one of those the lethal MMA or the lethal
Yeah, I just saw that the
jujitsu
jujitsu.
guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And dude, I mean, there's nothing you can really do with somebody who's very technically astute
yeah.
and strong as far as being able doing jujitsu because they're just all over you. You can't no matter if you've ever been I've been in that situation with
Oh yeah.
somebody who's smaller but they're technical and when you're with somebody that's
Oh
technical
yeah.
they're not relying on their
Yeah,
strength.
and it's funny because I was watching it with my daughter. She said, "Man, he's good." And but even in those situations, right? Sometimes sometimes life feels like you're up against that guy, right?
Yeah, that guy
Like
like
they're
there you go.
slamming you. But here's the thing about it, right? Embracing the suck. It's a military term. Uh, is when you get to where you can get comfortable with that, then you can deal with that guy more effectively, right?
Yes.
You can deal with it. It's like, okay, I know as soon as he grabs me, he's gonna slam me and he's gonna slam me hard. So as long as I understand that, it won't take me by surprise, right?
Right.
And then once it doesn't take you by surprise, like, okay, after you get slammed, then what's your next move? And then that
Yes.
allows you to get clarity. It allows you to to focus on how you're going to approach it, and also it takes away the fear. Uh,
Yes.
Once you remove that fear, you you become more astute than you thought you were, right? Because a lot of times, for example, I love MMA. I watched it last night. There was a fight on, and when the fight started, I noticed that the guy he's a very good fighter, but he got demolished last night. And when the fight started, the thing that I noticed is that he didn't embrace the moment. And what I mean by
Okay.
that is I could
He's
tell
probably
that
had too many.
he was distracted by the environment that he was in. It was a big stage, and that's what happens to a lot of fighters, right? They could be very, very good, but they're not used to the stage that they're on. And this could be people in their life and those kinds of things. And the stage that you're on can sometimes intimidate you. It's not even necessarily the person you're fighting.
Yep.
Or the
Just to speak to that, I had
Go
a
ahead.
situation yesterday where I went live with somebody, and they're not used to it, and they said, "Yeah, I'm game. Let's do it." So immediately when we went live, I could see the change
Yes.
as far as the deer in the headlights, kind of freeze it up, kind of like going into a different mode. And then when we got done, the person was like, "How is it that how did you get so comfortable in front of the camera?" And I said, "Well, practice.
Yeah.
Uh, do it just something
Because
we
like
do
you said, it
every
could
day."
take you by surprise, and the stage can intimidate you, right? And
Yeah,
so it's just like it's the difference between us having a regular conversation and then us having a conversation, and all of a sudden we're on the stage in front of a lot of people. You know,
yeah,
it, if you start focusing on where you are, like Kimba said, you got to zone in. You don't zone in or even just accept it, then you start freezing up, and it could be the simplest of things. It's like you can't even say your name correctly, right? So it's those
hmm
kinds of things that can change how you perform. And it's the environment. It might not be that you're not that in person, that you're not good or efficient at whatever it is you're doing. Last night it was a fighter, uh, but again, it takes you so far out of your game that it's very difficult to recuperate. And by the time you recuperate, the dude's already pounding your face, right? so
game
so
over.
yeah, so that's one thing. Also, let me go back to the four pillars because I know I started veering off. Just thinking about some of this stuff. Is relationships, like I said, being at home, being with the kids is
Family.
yeah, I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Obviously, I haven't. So that's definitely been beneficial. And I always think
Oh,
about
that's
these moments as far as down the road. How will my kids remember these times? How what will that do? With my relationship with them when they get older. I think about those kinds of things. I hate the fact that they're getting older, but they're gonna get older regardless. If I want
yeah.
to, God willing, they continue to live a long life. And so I always think about these moments, when I sit here and just hold them while I'm working, or talk to them. How will how will they remember these moments? I don't know if they'll remember, they probably won't remember the specific moment, but they'll remember, how we treated them, how we
How
made them
they
feel.
felt.
Exactly. So those are the things that I think about, especially in terms of relationships. And it's the same thing. You have bonding moments with people, and so when they think of you, they have a certain kind of memory, and
Feeling.
that's what I think about when I think about relationships. I think about the people I'm involved with. Sometimes you have to help people when you don't want to. Ain't that right, Kevin?
Mhm.
Kevin helped me. He helped me move. Lamar, they helped me move. So shout out to my dudes that stepped up for me. But sometimes you have, you even though you don't want to do it, you do it anyway because you understand
Yeah.
it's like you're making deposits, right? You're making positive deposits in the relationship bank.
And the
Yeah,
community bank, because at some point you're gonna have to make a withdrawal. So you wanna
exactly. Yeah, you have to.
this,
So that's
yeah,
why you always you make sure that you fill it up as often as you can. And it's really not a difficult thing to do. Sometimes in our minds we make it difficult,
the
you know.
world we live in designed it
Yeah.
that way.
And so it's like, and again, when I think about the relationships I have with my daughter, my wife, it's really very basic things. is being nice, giving them a hug, stuff like that. It feels good, of course. It feels great, being around them and those kinds of things. But it's not something that that requires a monumental effort. Yeah, and sometimes we build things up in our head to where it's bigger than what it actually is, right? So that's one of the things that I do in terms of relationships. When people call on me, if I'm available, I try to be there. Of course, unless there's some other mitigating circumstances where I can't, I always try to make sure it's like, okay, I can do this. I can be there. I'll see you. I'll come through. I'll help out. And again, that's without asking for anything in return. So
Yeah.
that's one of the ways I cultivate relationships. And going back to happiness and spirituality, which is all in the same for me. Blessings, it means happiness, right? So
Yeah.
when I think about those things, is just being mindful. I know mindfulness is a big thing nowadays, but just literally taking the time out to recognize what I have, the people around me, the circumstances that I'm in, all of those different things, and just looking at it from a bird's eye view as opposed to in the trenches. And when I look at things from
Yeah.
a bird's eye view, I realize the blessings that I actually do have. Sometimes you can't see it. Sometimes you don't see, you can't see the weeds because you're in the dirt, and so
Yep.
or you can't see the flowers and those
The
kinds of
forest
things.
for the trees.
Yeah, so when you take a step back, look at it from a different perspective, for me, from a biblical perspective, or a Christian perspective, or whatever, just looking at it from that kind of lens, and just recognizing, the people that I have in my life, the networks that I have established, or the circumstances that have come my way. I try to look, find the real value in it, as opposed to sometimes when deals don't work out, people, look at it as a bad thing, but sometimes it's actually a blessing that they don't, because when deals and things work out, then that means you're obligated to those deals. And if you're fortunate enough to see the issues before the deals have been, locked in, then you've avoided a lot of headache and heartache, right? Whereas some people don't see it that way. They're like, oh man, I should have got that, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, it wouldn't have worked for you if you did get it, right? They don't look at it for what the reality of it actually is. So that's one thing that I'm definitely grateful for, and it's just being around people that care about the things I care about. So that helps keep me happy, and
Yeah.
and again, just uh, choosing choosing to be
That's
happy.
it.
Yeah,
Yes, man. Yeah, those are some nuggets that you dropped talking about being grateful and then being mindful. Like you said, it's one of the big. It's become a big trendy word today, but rightfully so, given that we live in a world that is uh, where we're distracted so much. So just being mindful, like you see, you dropped so many nuggets, and just choosing. That's easier said than done.
no, it's
Just
difficult.
finding those ways to trick yourself.
Yeah.
Like literally before we came on, I found a gift. I wasn't the best of it wasn't the best of times, but then
It's the worst
I
of times.
found a gift,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the gift just sent me over in the right direction. I got a laugh in before I came on. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
it's all
that's
good now.
and the good thing, we talked about it before, but the good thing about, like I said, about being an adult is you have the power you know, for the most part. Some people are enslaved, but for the most part, you have
Yeah.
the power to choose your environment. You have the power to choose your friends. You have the power to choose your mindset. You have a lot of
Yes.
control over your life, and recognize that. Some people don't recognize the control that they have over their life. Like you said, your mood is down. Watch something funny. Watch something to elevate your mood, or eat something to elevate your whatever. Do something to elevate your mood, and yeah, you have a choice. And sometimes we choose to be in the wrong circumstances, not realizing that we have the options of doing something else. And so that's something that we all have to remind ourselves of. I know I do sometimes. If I'm upset about something, it's like, you know what, it ain't that bad. I have the option, to think about something else. I can focus on something else. I can move my mind to something else or somewhere else to where I feel better about it. If something's bad on your Facebook timeline, keep it moving, keep it scrolling. Uh, Block the view of that. I know one of the things that changed my outlook in terms of social media interaction is realizing. I know we talk about it a lot in Waquanda. People, think we're being flippant about it, but it's the truth is don't look at it. If you know somebody is gonna upset you or anger you because of their view, because of the things they say, you have the option of ignoring that person.
Keep going. Yeah.
Like literally, you just either block them, like unfollow. What you have the option to ignore that person altogether, ignore that information altogether, and keep your sanity. Or you have the option of not even being on the platform altogether, right? And so, just exercising those options can change your mindset. It can change, how your
It really
perspective on
does.
life. And so we have to be, cognizant of that on a continuous basis. That okay, I'm gonna be an adult in this situation from the standpoint that I can choose to be one way or the other. I know that I've reached maturity, mental maturity, physical maturity, so I can either get up and walk away or I can just focus on something else. There's all kinds of options that we have yet to exercise.
Man, yeah, you really hit on it. And Kimba and Kia's go back and forth on
Yep.
choosing to be happy. Many don't realize it's a choice. Exactly, happiness or lack thereof is a byproduct of other choices. And when you were talking about that, it brought to mind the book by Viktor Frankl, who came up with the third school of psychotherapy, along with his was considered he was considered on the same level of Freud and somebody else, but his was a third school. And I read his book a while back, and I often I try to find the extremes
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in things. Guess why? So that's why sometimes you hear me say, whether you find yourself in solitary confinement or whatever, because I stay saturated, or I keep at the forefront of my mind a lot of people that are in situations of extreme measures and still are able to maintain some sanity, some hope, and some joy in their heart in some dire hard situations. And I was thinking about Viktor Frankl, who went through the Holocaust and he went through the
Yeah.
camps, and he was talking about some of his quotes, famous quotes: "Everything could be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." And then another one is, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And he's got other ones too that, throughout the book, some nuggets that he drops, just talking about how his life's work, as far as like when his books that he wrote and stuff,
Yeah.
and how when they went through the camp, they took it from him and just destroyed it. And he's like, so he just, after he got over that pain, he began the process of putting everything back together.
Yep.
So just things like that. It's like, you know, it's often become cliched, as far as like people choosing happiness, but there's some realness to it. There's some
No, it
substance,
is.
power
So,
to it.
especially when you think about a lot
Uh,
of the, yes,
Man search for meaning.
okay, yeah, and especially when you think about, again, you have the physical ability to get up and leave. It, you just really do. You can walk away, and it's the simplest thing to do that people find hard to do because we get caught up in ego, we get caught up in a lot of different things that keep us in the situation that is terrible for us. Whether it be a mindset of fear, of not knowing what's going to happen if I go somewhere else or whatever, is it's one way to avoid altercations. It's one way to avoid arguments. It's one way you can avoid a whole lot of things by literally getting up and physically moving your body to a new location, or just physically focusing your sights on something else. Uh, there's all kinds of ways, and again, at the end of the day, it's a choice, and sometimes it's very difficult for us to see that it is a choice because we think the other person is imposing their will on us, and sometimes they are, but most part is not. It's just
Yeah,
us being there.
and that's a lesson that I had to learn, not the hard way, but it's just like you talked about when I first got on social media and started learning how to use it. It's like, oh, you coming at me like that? Oh, okay. You, I'm late for work, supposed to be at work and
Oh, I'm gonna
stuff.
drop this heat on them today. Oh yeah, like
You like posting links and like trying to support your argument or whatever,
oh
and
man,
like
I
they're
used to
like
be that
they poo
dude.
poo all
Like
that.
literally,
Yeah,
I used to be that guy. It's like there was no argument I would walk away from, and then I was like, what's the point? I literally
what's the
got.
point?
I was
Yeah,
like,
don't
it doesn't
nobody
matter.
care.
I was like, it doesn't matter. It's not gonna change anybody's mindset. It's not gonna do anything. So that's why I honestly don't argue on social media anymore. I just quit. I just stopped.
Yeah.
Kim was saying, I got time today. Sometimes I'm like, sometimes I just jab at people just because, just to create
Because you
conversation.
get that.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but for the most part, like I don't get heated about social media arguments or anything like that because again, it's a choice that I can walk away from. If I don't like what somebody's saying, I don't have to read it. I don't have to look at it. I don't have to be. If I think that person is toxic, why am I attached to them anyway? So it is a variety of different things.
Takia said, I respect that, JK, about changing yourself in response to what you can't change, but I want to emphasize that there is nothing wrong with asking for help to make those changes. I firmly believe that we overemphasize our own ability to induce change, but we underemphasize that there is help available to aid us in our healing. No, no, no. Yeah, we definitely, that's one of the things that we do try to emphasize strongly here is that one of the things about the power and strength that you find in relationships and community is that you're not doing going through life by yourself. And when it comes to like making some changes that are necessary, then it's definitely advantageous to use the strength that you'll find in community and family, uh,
Yeah,
in a significant other, and just a friend, something where you don't have to solely rely on yourself. And that also speaks to the spirituality pillar too, as far as making sure you have a relationship with your heavenly Father, and that you know that you're not going through this journey, these life experiences by yourself, and you can receive. You do have uh, real substantial, help.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
if
I
that
want to
makes
talk on that
sense.
because it was funny. It was a conversation earlier today, and this ties into to Kia, and I know her and Rachel have this thing about being a superwoman.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like for overachievers, it's very difficult for them to ask for help,
Mm.
and so it's hard for you to recognize when you're that person. There was a particular
Yes.
individual that I was talking with earlier today, extremely accomplished person, extremely accomplished. Like they're the type of person like, oh, go do this, and they'll knock it out the park every time.
Wow.
And so it's difficult when you're used to being that person and you run up against something that you're not accustomed to. It doesn't fit your logic of how something should be solved. And so instead of asking for the right help to get it
For help.
solved, you know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
because some things are a journey, and you have to understand that it's not a single destination, but that it's a continuous journey. And if
Yeah.
you don't comprehend that up front, and you're trying to solve that problem,
You're
then
gonna
you're
be
going to
banging
be
your head for
defeated.
a lot.
Oh man, it's going to
Frustrated.
destroy you.
Yeah.
And so that's why help is definitely important. In situations, and it can even be relationship help. It can be a lot of different things. Some things, like I said, you can't just walk away from and get rid of that stress in your life, but other things you have to deal with. And getting help and getting advice from the right people, from your community, from people that love you. Going back to our normal theme of stuff, talking to the
Yep.
people around you, they can help you navigate that as well. And so, don't be an island amongst, to yourself and that kind of thing. But it's vital for us to get the input of others and just, weigh the information, right?
Yeah, don't do it to yourself. Don't be an island to yourself. Life's too long. You want to make sure you live it luxuriously, leveling up and laughing.
Yep. And
Wow.
Isaac said it great. He said, being mindful that it's a person's right to disagree with me helps me be accepting of their perspective.
Accepting the perspective.
Yeah.
Man, that's,
And,
yeah.
and that in and of itself is hard because our egos are involved, right?
That's what I was about to say. Ego. Yeah. That goes back to the thing, ego gets in it. So you have to,
Yeah.
and it goes back to accepting, taking down and accepting and asking for help too, as far as ego and pride. Like,
Oh,
yo, I need some
all
help
of
over
that,
here.
man. And again, it's really life is just as much a journey of self as it is of everything else in it. So there's certain things that you got to realize that you have to deal with yourself, and then dealing with yourself it helps you interact with other people, and then
Hmm.
also it may even help you recognize some of the things that they're dealing with as well, and you can offer help in the right kind of way.
Hmm.
So Kevin hit his
I
word
think
walk.
that's all I got. Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
did.
Hmm. See,
Hmm.
this is where you recognize people's but yeah, man, it definitely feels good to be back again. Shout out to my dude J Kev for holding it down while I was away tussling with other stuff. So I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate your help, and just keeping it
You
rolling.
don't want J Kev on the technicals,
No,
man.
here's what's funny though. Because I was thinking about it before I came out, I was like, J Kev has turned into me because he's like, hey man, we going out tonight? What time? Jay, he was hounding me, so I appreciate him for that.
Yeah, well, we have, it's good to keep the conversation flowing. I definitely miss being in, talking with the
Yep.
community. And you don't want J Kev too quiet for too long, because that's where I'll stay.
Yeah, going to the sunken place and stay there.
Yeah, me and these social media platforms, they have a love-hate relationship.
Uh,
So,
I
yeah.
get it because I can stay quiet for a long time. Like
Yeah.
like play the quiet game. You're like,
Oh, it's over. Oh, the funny thing is watching me and my dad do like road trips. It, me
it's
and my
probably the most
dad doing
silent
road
thing ever.
trips, the whole, it don't matter where we California, Michigan, Florida. We don't 2 words. It's about 2 words the whole trip. And we good. We still good though.
Yeah.
We don't had like telepathic conversations. It's
No,
like you
I
good.
didn't
Yeah,
know.
I'm good.
My wife would be like, she's like, so you could be in a car with somebody and not say nothing to them? I'm like, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Well,
Like,
fine. What's wrong with
I remember I used to take my little brother to school. Like every morning, you get in the car, I get in the car, we wouldn't say a word.
that?
Just drive to school, drop him off later, and that'd be like the only words the whole time. So yeah, I get it.
So, two shy guys at a mic, Jay Kev and Leif Taylor here, keeping the conversation going. Just talking about things, the 4 pillars: health, wealth, love, and happiness. The 4 pillars that we want you to do as you longly live your life. We want you to luxuriously level up to living, love, and loving life, and just doing it a lot. How about them?
Right. All right.
All right.
We appreciate you. We thank you as always. Thanks for watching Two Shot Guys on the mic. We love you. We thank you for the feedback and the commentary. Until next time, maybe I'll get this scraggly beard shaved and all of that. Until next time, peace out.
No shave.
No shave
Peace and
December now.
blessings.
All right, later.
Yep.